Hi, everyone. Welcome to the African Hummingbird podcast. My name is Stacy, and I'm here with.
Sharon once again. I feel like it's been so long since we recorded.
It has been forever.
Yeah, so it feels like ni kama naanza
Like-
upya.
It's a start.
It's a
We're
start.
new to this, guys.
We're now
Also, we are recording a video. I don't know whether we'll use this. It's up for discussion.
the team of 3. We shall see.
TBD. To be discussed.
Oh yeah, okay. I use
Yeah.
that a lot. I used to use that a lot at work.
Yeah.
TBC,
TBCD.
TBD, to be confirmed or something.
To be continued.
Could be that too.
Yeah.
No one is limiting anyone.
Yeah. So thank you so much for everyone who's been listening to our podcasts, sharing, liking. Thank you so much. Also, please rate us on Spotify, subscribe on our YouTube. Please, thank you.
We are begging. Mimi kama Sharon, I'm actually on my knees now.
She's not, but we really are begging.
Actually forgot that a video on.
What are you doing on your knees?
I'm not.
Unakumbuka watu wa- Anyway,
Focus. Anyway, so today we are talking about a book that we have strong opinions on between us two. And it's by an
lack
author
thereof.
or lack thereof for some people.
Yeah.
But it's about a book by an author, a Kenyan author called Joan Thatiah. And it's a book that we picked quite randomly when we were thinking about what to read next. And the book is called Confessions of Nairobi Women. We have done Confessions of Nairobi Men. And actually, I think that was one of my favorite episodes to record. I think I had, nilikuwa na content, nilikuwa na whole notes. I had a whole Google document with notes of things I like, things I did not like, etc.
Yeah. Do you have the same for this one?
Next question. I actually do have notes. I have
Yeah.
notes. But yeah, so the book is Confessions by Nairobi Women, and there are 2 parts for this book. There's 1 and 2, and we
Book one
read
and book
the
2.
Yes, we read book 1.
Yeah.
And in simple terms, as the Confessions of Nairobi Men, it's just a compilation of a short story style of writing. It's like 13 stories of women who Joan Thatiah has spoken to between 2020 and, around COVID season, because she does reference COVID in the book a number of times. And yeah, we decided to read it and see how women in Nairobi are moving.
And they are real life stories, guys.
Yeah, they are.
Some of the stories you'll read, it will make you question a lot of things. And also, it will make you question a lot of things about the women, but most importantly, Joanne, because why do you love so much? Why do you love sad stories?
Such sad stories. I don't know. I think I like sad stories.
Yeah.
For example, and I think I did mention it in the very first episode, saying
Yeah.
that I like the likes of Khalid Hussein, war stories and sadness and grief na kadhalika. But then there are also some topics that I do not like listening to.
Yeah.
And this is a good time for me to mention the trigger warnings on the themes that are covered in this book. And I did write them in my notes.
Yeah.
I have notes, unlike some people in the
No, let's just start this way. Have you finished reading the whole book?
I read 12 books out of 13. I didn't read the
12
last.
stories
Yes.
out of 13.
Yes.
I've read 5 out of 13.
May I ask why you didn't finish the book?
It was a sad. The theme and the overall
Mood of
the story is sombre. And honestly, at this point in my life,
You want joy.
I want joy, I want excitement, I
Yeah.
want drama. And maybe it was not a perfect time to choose this book
Yeah.
to read. Yeah.
And I remember when we had this discussion about timing.
So let me give case in point. So I decided to I opened this book last week, and this is the first sentence I read. I started thinking about killing my husband 10 years ago. So this was just book 1, and I was just tired. Nikasema, okay, maybe it's just the first story that is giving this sombre, wherever. Then nikasema, let me go to
A
story
random
11.
story,
I just open and can land story 11. This is how it starts. When you place a human head on when you place a human head on open fire, it makes popping sounds like green maize roasting on a jiko. So I'm like, you guys, do you really want to continue reading
Not
this
in the
book?
mood.
I'm not in the mood. So I kept it longer than Maybe I should have. Then when I started reading it, I just went to
Just weren't ready for the
but I just didn't read the first story. I was like,
it's too heavy.
maybe not too heavy, but I'm just not in that mind of reading this.
And I remember we've had this discussion before when we were talking about self-help books and your complete dislike for them. And I remember, I don't know who between us said this, but sometimes you're not just ready to read the self-help book.
Yeah.
Unless you're actually looking for something. I think you're the wise one. Unless you actually are in the mood to get some motivation for something.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wake up and read Atomic Habits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there are some people who it just comes to them.
Yeah.
That they're just ready for any self-help, any productivity, time punctuality. They're ready for that.
Yeah.
Good for you. But also there are other genres that regardless of the mood I'm in, I can easily consume.
Yeah.
Like I told you about this genre, contemporary.
Oh yeah, modern day.
Yeah, modern day fiction, a lot of stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any day, anytime.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Okay, I get that. So back to the conversation about some of the themes that you are not ready to read.
Yeah.
I'll just go ahead and give some of the trigger warnings that we noticed based on the stories that I read.
Yeah.
There are conversations about disability, infant death, pregnancy complications, miscarriage, sexual assault, rape, abuse by religious figures. There's also teen pregnancy, homelessness, abuse, a lot of other things like grief, alcoholism, sex work, FGM, early marriages, and a lot of death as well. I mean, you literally read a line of someone's head being burnt. So
or a jiko.
Hey, my lord.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but the stories I read were, I don't know whether you've mentioned amongst the themes that you read, there was motherhood. Yes.
Oh yeah. What do you mean motherhood?
Motherhood as a theme, like how a child came and changed your life.
Oh, yes.
Or maybe you're a couple struggling to get a child. Or yeah.
Exactly. So can we talk about what we liked about the book? Or should we go talk about some of the stories that we read first?
So let's begin with what we liked about the book. Okay. I'll start.
I'm curious to hear what you liked about the book.
It's not all gloom and doom over here. I liked how it's a fast read. Like I can easily finish a story haraka sana, despite being heavy in a way. Maybe that can be a bad or good thing. Yeah. But also I liked how, I've said fast read.
Yeah. Also, it's also quite a small book.
It's a small book.
I mean, the book is 151 pages, and like reading the number of pages to read about the story is like 130 because there's a lot of blank pages.
Yeah, it's like a story has like 5-6 pages.
Yeah, or less.
So it's a small book. So if you don't mind the sombre theme and the mood of the book, it can easily remove you from the reading slump. What else did I like? It's interesting. Loved to hear the Confessions of Nairobi Women and what women go through. Some of it is crazy.
Some not.
Correction depend about the book. Maybe you continue.
Okay. I liked what has
notes, guys. Maybe nakaa hapa kama unserious students.
Wale wenye unaanza kuchora diagram sanye mwalimu ameanza kucheck diagram ya where's your heart
together.
What is the picture of your heart, Stacy?
Sorry. Uko na artery vein. The different chambers.
Exactly.
The framework.
Umechora ile heart ya the love heart. My lord. Bare minimum. Anyway, our dog ate my homework.
I think it.
Yeah. Anyway, so I don't have a long list of things I liked about the book. But like you, I did like that it's a relatively small book.
Yeah.
So it's only like 1,000 bob, which I think is the average price for
any book.
Yeah, for Kenyan books. Yeah. And number 2, I also liked that the stories started strong. And I know it's conflicting with what you said because you hated those strong, powerful starts.
Yeah.
Like when I read the first line of the first story, which Stacy just read, like, oh, when I first started to, when I, iko wapi? Just give me a second.
Story 1.
Mbona story 1 yangu haina page 1? Oh, it says, zilikuwa zimeshikana. It says, I started thinking about killing my husband 10 years ago. I like such stats. Kusema kweli, I know it's a heavy theme, but I like such strong stats. Another one that I liked, let me just pick out a random one, was I liked how they started strong with like very.
This is the one I read before.
Which one? Yeah, number 11.
Maybe you can read it since you liked it.
I don't read it again.
Okay, so
I'm not reading it again.
So
But I liked that. And number 2, I also liked that the like her other book, the size of the font was okay for me. I didn't feel like it was too big or too small.
yeah, this one feels too big. Like the spacing, it's like double or something.
No, that I liked the font size.
You did?
Yeah. I didn't mind the font size. We'll talk about the margins when we talk about the things we did not like.
Yeah.
But I know that you did not like the font size, right?
Yeah. And this is just preference. Nothing
Yeah.
to say about the writer or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Ni such small non-issues na kadhalika. Yeah, I think those are the 2 things that I liked.
Yeah.
Now let's go into the things that we did not like or we would rather have been done differently with the book. Start with the margins.
The margins, I felt like they were a bit too big for me.
Alongside the pages, right?
Alongside the pages, because there's the one I show you before we started recording. It's a conversation. Now it's tuseme tu ni user experience.
Yeah, UI.
Yeah, it was not great to me. Yeah, that was one. Number 2, that's just how it looks. Nini.
Yeah.
Number 2, what I didn't like, it's the strong stats in a way.
Yeah.
Because to me, it felt like umenianza at a very top notch na unanipeleka chini.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're really strong.
You want to build up.
Yeah, they're really strong stats. So me in my head, nime click, fuck, this is a very, this is a very strong, maybe initially disclaimer could be put regarding the overall story of the book, because you're talking about killing your husband. So my head, naturally, because if I want to read, as a reader, when I'm reading something, it's like tempo yangu inafaa panda. Siku.
Hautaki iende hivi? Waves.
Maybe nataka, but this book felt like it was a strong start, then a decline. So that's what I didn't like. Also, the strong starts, you guys. Where is the foreplay? Where is the
ease me into
the story? Because you're
yeah, I get that. I can see how that could be an issue.
Yeah.
Because when we were talking about it like last week, you said that when you compare it to other writers that you've read, compare Kamachi.
Do we really want to put it?
No, I think it's a fair thing to do. It's a fair thing to do.
As a future writer, hii topic inanisikia.
Yeah, compare something. Okay, we can leave it out.
No, but you can just say it.
I think whenever I read something, the few times that I have, it's always from a comparison, like, and it's innate to say, oh, I enjoyed this book more than this one.
Yeah.
These are the reasons that I did, these are the reasons that I did not. So comparison is normal, I would expect.
Yeah.
Like when you're watching a movie, you'd easily say, oh yeah, I didn't like this. I enjoyed this one.
Also, I think reading several books at a go does not help at all. Because
tell us why.
Yeah. Reading several books that does not help at all, like in judging a book, because there's always comparison.
Yeah.
They're of different nature, genre, styles, and everything. Itakupatio unfair play because maybe you liked a book more.
Yeah.
And it's really like one of your best books at that of the year or 2 years. I don't know.
Book,
yes.
I need to read that book.
I'm reading this book which Yellowface. I don't know whether you've heard about it.
I heard it from you.
Honestly, for me, that's my kind of genre. And it's so unfair that I'm reading it alongside
a
genre that I really don't like. And also Chimamanda Ngozi, I'm reading her. What's
the Queen Adichie,
the Queen, the Mother. What's the name of the book? the thing
Half a yellow sun.
No.
Oh, the thing around my neck.
around your neck.
Yeah.
Also, bearing in mind, Yellowface is now my best book. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie never goes wrong by me. Then I'm reading a book of a genre that's kidogo tricky to me. So that's like an unfair play to the book.
To the author that you...
To the author.
Because when you start not enjoying the genre, it's like, okay, it's already an unfair playground.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get that.
So we'll go with that.
Another thing that I did not like about the story is... I just lost my notes. I felt like the stories were quite predictable. And I'll explain why I think that's the case and why I felt that. Ilikuwa the usual themes there. Oh, I get married early. I go to a rich man in Nairobi. They do promise to take me to school, but they don't. I get pregnant. I get Juya Matatu conductor.
A bad mother-in-law.
That guy. You actually wrote that. Like a bad mother-in-law is a very predictable story. What else? Let me see if I had anything else. Like the typical, my parents died young, I'm an orphan now, going to kushikwa relatives.
Yeah.
And I remember saying this in an episode that we had recorded, that sometimes a story is so predictable that you don't enjoy it, then you can actually skip. Actually, ilikuwa sinners. That you can skip a whole paragraph and you still catch up with the story.
The story, exactly.
That's not ideal.
Yeah.
And... yeah, I think that... I wanted to say that I think one of the reasons that I felt that it's a predictable story, I don't know if it's true because I'm a woman and I interact with women.
Yeah.
And I interact with women's stories every single day. It's like I know what happens.
Yeah. Maybe this... You see how we were so amazed and mesmerized by Confessions of Nairobi Women, because what do you mean?
No, men do this.
Oh, you have feelings.
This is your thought process. Oh, you also have pain.
I feel like I'd like to hear like thoughts and comments and opinions about the book from a male perspective.
I would too, actually.
Yeah.
Tupe muturia tu.
Muturia utatusomea.
Alafu tupe hiyo.
Alafu tutupatia
kitabu. Utasoma kitabu alafu tupe your perspective from a man's point of view. Ashakata. Anyway, I think that's one of the reasons that I think that it was a very predictable storyline for most stories for me. But that's not on the author. It's just that I live in women's stories. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. I know there are really, really sad stories, but a part of me wished that kungekuwa na humor.
I don't think her writing style is humorous.
Again, hapa ni preference. Because me... why do I read? I read to be entertained and enjoy the book thoroughly.
Like a bona crime.
Tell me something traumatic, but make me laugh at the same time, you know? But that's just a kind of thing.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. Anyway, do you have any stories that you want to talk about?
Yes, the mother-in-law.
You ilikuwa number?
11, I think. No, it was 11, no. Maybe 12 or something. Okay. Not so sure.
Okay, no problem.
But... Let me just a second. So the story that I'm going to talk about is called... Okay, I can't remember.
Let me try and find it because I have the... I think it's number 2. Check number 2.
A game of musical chairs.
Check number 2.
Okay. Is it that one?
Jo kumbuki kusoma number 2.
Nilisoma number 2.
Unless there's another mother-in-law. Number 2, baby.
I'll just read about number. I'll talk about number 2, and I'll narrate the story of how I remember the one that I'm talking about. So number 2 talks about this woman who is married to this guy. We'll name her Atemi. Was her name? Yes.
Which story number is that?
Number 2.
Oh, okay. So
there's a girl called Atemi and a guy called Sammy. They're married. Like, one of the major themes that you mentioned was like struggling to get children, which is a major issue that women face.
Yes.
In marriages, getting a child. So that's the case in point of Sammy and Atemi. So to reverse kiasi, Atemi got pregnant when she was in second year,
Mhm.
but she miscarried the baby.
Mhm.
So that was way back, way back in campus.
Yeah.
But fast forward, like 10 years later, she's in this marriage where they're really struggling to get a child.
7 years later.
7 years later, they're really struggling to get a child. Everyone from Sammy's family sees the woman
Is the problem.
as the problem.
As is in many homesteads.
Exactly. So the mother-in-law, the sister-in-law, and the pastor one day comes to intervene and ask him, why are you not giving our son a baby, a child?
Before you continue, one of the things that pissed me off about that story is, why is the pastor there? As a pastor, why are you going to ask about a family that you're not even involved in?
That's
for their child.
yeah.
But it's the faith. Okay.
Religion.
Yeah.
A bit. I guess also watoto wanatoka kwa Mungu.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
Maybe that part is where
They come in. The apostle comes in.
Also, you see how pastors normally pray for people with problems. So I was thinking maybe this is the same situation.
Fair enough.
And also knowing that this is someone's real story. I'm sorry, Atemi.
You make me smile.
The Lord.
Right. I'm gonna do
Anyway, so there was one time that Sammy and Atemi were seated down. I don't know if they were seated or standing, but they were having this conversation about how, and Atemi snapped because she was just tired of people blaming her of this inability to produce children, conceive. So she lashed out at Sammy because I've ever get her. So this is how I'm assuming Atemi is.
Yeah.
I've ever gotten pregnant.
So I know I can.
So I know I have the ability to conceive.
Yeah.
Who have you made pregnant? The problem is you.
Yeah.
I don't know how that story went, because Babu. Yeah.
Actually, before Kendele, I wish Joan had spoken more about the reaction of Sammy, because that was not even addressed. It wasn't mentioned.
It wasn't.
Yeah,
it was like can't remember really well.
Because it wasn't mentioned.
Yeah.
Joan, the writer, didn't explain how Sammy reacted to,
because it's a
being
very
called out for it. It's a very
I mean, point fingers.
Exactly. It's like,
it's your problem.
It's you now.
Yeah.
And there was no mention of them going to a urologist.
Yeah. She wasn't checked. Everyone just assumed he has no problem because he's a man, you know? Yeah. So one day, Sammy comes and gives a solution to the problem. And is like, okay, now that baby, okay, he didn't even confess or admit that he's the problem. He just suggested one of his friends to impregnate her.
Yeah, on his behalf.
Because real friends, real bros. And because real friends, real bros. We come for each other.
Shop for me when on my
shop for
time
me.
of need.
And I remember they mentioned, what was his name? Benja.
Yeah,
it's Benja. So Atemi was like, "I mbona si Paul, mbona si Mturi, mbona si your other friends? Why just Benja?
Why did you choose him?"
I don't know what he said.
He didn't respond.
We were not told about conversion. Yeah, Benja na Sammy.
What would be a very interesting thing to see how the man.
Because we are focusing on the women now. But anyway, it leaves a lot of hanging conversation that would be interesting.
Yeah.
So
if it was written well, conversation.
I didn't say it, but so Benja and Atemi did their thing, and Atemi really enjoyed that process because they didn't choose insemination like a cow. They just did the thing.
AI.
Yeah, and finally after 2 days, there was something in her belly because you were told. And that's how she got pregnant with a child. And I remember the in-laws also asking for another child because to give the sibling, if I'm not wrong. You remember that part?
No, I don't think it's the in-laws who asked. I think she said that she wanted to give
so they would ask Benja again.
Exactly. So the plan was to ask Benja again. But then the lady was afraid of asking again because she was starting to enjoy it a bit too much. Yeah. They had already started to sneak in kisses here and there.
Yeah, because I remember the birthday of the son. It's the son? Yeah.
Oh, yes. That's when they sneaked a kiss.
Yeah, Benja followed her to the kitchen and she kissed,
Jikoni ni ya kupika.
but they kissed in the kitchen and she really enjoyed it. And alisema tu from there henceforth, when the husband kisses him, and fell to the lips of
It should
the
have
soft.
been better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was story 2.
Yeah, I liked that one as well. I actually had notes on that.
Yeah.
But I like that you said, I wish they had built up more conversation on like reactions on these conversations happening.
Yeah.
Because they're very important conversations.
Yeah.
But again, I think also it's because it's a short story. There's not much room to build on the story. And also you're focusing on women. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but I think it could be improved in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Story number 11. That's what I'll speak about. The title is When You Place a Human Head on Fire. Apparently, that's the story. The lining, the first liner that I really didn't like.
Yeah.
So again, the line that I didn't like is, when you place a human head on open fire, it makes popping sound like green maize roasting on a jiko. So this story is about this man called Law, Law, and a lady that they met at like a kibanda, and me in my head sijui mbona tu ilienda Kamakis.
Ilienda
'Cause
kama?
Kamakis.
Offer?
Yeah,
Kuna
'cause-
kukalia tu huko.
yeah. Kamakis. Yeah, I've gone to Kamakis.
Damn.
Not? You've never?
Tunipeleke?
Tuende.
Sawa.
Mbia mtu ya kupeleke.
Tamwambia.
Anyway, so it's about this lady who worked in to make like a Kambaki's place. I don't know the wording that they kibanda where people eat meat and maybe alcohol. That
Kama
kind
zoo.
of a local.
Yes.
Tuseme a local. So she was one of the waiters at this local. Wanalipo how much? 200 per day. So on this particular day, she was not supposed to be in the shift. So the boss or the supervisor tells her, I think her name was Carrier. The supervisor tells her to come in to replace in place of someone who was sick. So akakuja, so anasam.
Remember hizo details zote?
Because I read it.
Okay, you caught me there. I also read the book, by the story.
Yeah. So the lady comes, and the person, one of the customers that she serves is this guy called Lo. Also before I'm served, alimwona come in with a very nice car, and she's
X-Trail.
like X-Trail.
Silver.
Yeah, apparently it's a nice car to her, which doesn't mean no, it's a nice car. Long story short, John anatuambia from the stories, girls find it's a nice car.
Yeah.
So akaona hapa naweza omokea na huyu client, you know?
And you know the way bar culture is, because it was also like an alcoholic place.
Yes.
There's a lot of tipping culture. So she also made a lot of most of her money.
Yeah.
Aliambiwa na the
supervisor
200 per day.
to you, I'll give you 200, the rest
Hustle na
customers.
clients.
Yeah. So when she saw Lo coming in, akasema hapa kuna venye maybe I can omokea with this one. Yeah. So akakuja akamserve. Lo noticed her. She even as he was leaving, akamwomba namba yake. And one day he calls her to tell her, let's go out, you know. And as a woman who umeona mtu mwenye utaomoka nayo, ukasema why not? But she was it was a yes for her, but she was kinda shy, so she called she called her friend. But Lo was like
roommate or something.
Yeah. Lo was like, hey woman, why are you bringing your friend? It's
I want
you,
to
I'm
marry
trying to
you.
wife. Why are you bringing people?
Hiyo sio tabia kuleta marafiki kwa dates.
Those people.
No.
Okay.
What? Have I ever asked you to come to one of my...
No. Anyway,
but yeah, I get it. So nilikuwa nasema it's like, she said, I want you. Why are you bringing your friend over here? And then eventually now they started to go on those dates alone.
Yeah.
Proceed.
Yeah. So haba na haba uzaza kibaba. So after going on dates, knowing about each other, there was one time there was a party at Lo's place. I think it was a party manini. I don't know. There was just
situation,
quote unquote, because he invited her to meet the parents. So on going there, like Lo really came from a
wealthy
wealthy
as
as family.
Mhm.
It's a wealthy AF. Wealthy.
Nimesema
Mimi
oh
he came from a wealthy family.
Mhm.
So even on first sight, the mom didn't like her because like how she was. I remember the first question the mom asked her is, "Who is your father?"
What does he do?
And God,
What does your mother do?
Baba.
What?
Mungu ndio baba. God is the
That's fine.
father. guys.
Mungu Baba Mwenyezi Mungu.
Why did she say that? But the girl came from a family where it was a single mom
She's actually an
household.
orphan, I think.
No, it was a
Oh, okay.
it was a single mom who was a teacher, and there was no mention of the father.
Yeah, but no, it was actually mentioned because she mentioned and she said, sijui baba yangu.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the mother-in-law asked, does your mother not know
Yeah.
your father? And the girls, the woman said,
And the mother-in-law.
so the father actually was mentioned at some point, and it was mentioned in the context of the lady was asked by the mother-in-law in the conversation about father, like, who's your father? And when she said, as you said, I don't know my father, akamuuliza, does your mother not know the person she slept with to make you?
Yeah.
And then she said, oh, she knows him, but my father's never been in my life, so I don't know him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just in the case of a single
Parent home. And yeah, so the economic state, pesa hawakuwa na pesa pia.
Hawakuwa na
So the
pesa.
mother-in-law was looking down on her.
Exactly. She despised her just because wewe ni nani, wewe ni wapi.
Unaenda
You
wapi?
can't match us because why are you with my son even? So that was the case.
Wish angemwambia shika hii 1 million. Eventually they had a child.
Hata umeruka sana. So eventually he asked her to move in with.
Oh.
Either way, wangefaced to the parents and the mother-in-law who didn't like her.
Yeah. So they lived in a shared compound where different houses
like a bungalow or something.
Exactly. And
so because they were living like husband and wife, the mother, and they are not married. The mother-in-law was like, wewe mbona umepeana tu hivyo haraka? What will my son even look in future? What does he look up to in the future?
Exactly. Why would you want to move in with someone when you're not married?
You're not married. But
a lady who does not respect herself is the only person who would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see the hate from the mother-in-law, quote unquote, side. So eventually they had a kid. They had a kid, yes. So one time, Lo lost his job.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, his mental health deteriorates, and he became one of these. I don't know why he didn't get a job. Also, with the connection that the mother-in-law had, and they were wealthy, why could there are also a lot of question mark in that story.
Gray areas
because to a point where you go to the local and just drink your ass off, and to the point also where you don't have money. I don't know, man. But there was one time that what's his name? Law was mob justice befell Law because apparently
actually before continue. I think you're about to say that apparently.
Nimemaliza.
I'm so sorry.
Continue.
So before the mob justice, while Law's financial situation ama mental health went down, as you said, alikuwa ameanza kuwa ma local na kadhalika. And then at some point, the lady was saying, I don't even know when my husband started to become a robber.
Yeah.
And then now the mob justice happened.
Yeah.
I'll let you continue the mob justice.
So the mob justice happened, and people, very inhuman people, sent this video to her for her to see. Hence the first
They actually did.
Yeah, hence the first line of the story. So hapo ndio una the story of how the head ikichomeka. Stona jiko. So he died, unfortunately, and she was in that house with a baby. After a while, the mother-in-law was like, "Hey, sister Sarah, so my son is dead, and why are you still
here? You're not even the wife.
You're not the wife. We don't recognize you." Like, before I forget, when she delivered the baby, it's like the love that she had, They love,
from the mother-in-law.
yeah,
They hate Ilian.
they hate Elisha.
Mhm.
Then she loved her because she named the baby Victoria after her.
Yeah.
So maybe it softened her heart. And weirdly, after the death, it's like the love was never there.
Suddenly,
So
yeah.
they chased her out of the house, and she went to start life from scratch. And she left the baby with the in-laws because
Yeah.
hana uwezo wa ku take care of the baby, and the baby is clearly loved by the mother. So
And I think that's also like made me think that there's this conversation by Kid Kiari who's online. She's constantly saying more women should leave their kids to the father or to the father-in-law's home, na kadhalika. I don't know.
yeah,
Because if they are loved
and they can take care of
they
the
can provide.
children, why not?
Exactly, why not?
I also kind of agree.
Yeah. And I think she made the right decision based
Yeah.
on what she
Like for the betterment of your children.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my second story that I took.
I have one more.
Okay.
And I won't remember all the details as well as you have.
Mm.
But it's story 7, and it's around page 87 or something.
Yeah.
It's about a woman who was about to get married in 4 days, and she had a little secret that she was addicted to sex.
Yeah.
And of course, the history stems from how she grew up as a child because her mother died quite young. And this meant that her dad was the person who raised her and her sister primarily.
Yeah.
And eventually, the father married a new woman, a stepmom. But one night, the 11-year-old girl woke up to someone covering her mouth. And it was her father. So the father raped her at 11, like just a few months after the mother had died, which was quite tragic.
Yeah.
And she explains that is one of the first instances that she remembers exactly of sex, her first experience of sex. I know her first. It is rape. Yeah,
was the
it
first experience of sex.
Yeah, rape was her first experience of sex. Words matter.
Yeah.
Now, here's what is happening in the present day on her life. As I said, she's 4 days to her wedding, and she goes to this Airbnb, like a studio apartment that she owns in South Sea, Masjun in Gong Road, and she goes and meets her lover, who's not her husband. So the entire premise of the story is that she has always been a polyamorous person. Whenever she's been in a relationship, she has always had to have someone on the side. And she says she's been in 6 relationships, and all of those she's had at least 2 or 3 men on the side, because she just like wants the intimacy so much. And okay, Ini is such a bad joke, but I remember the first thing that crossed my mind, women in male-dominated fields.
Yeah, truly.
Women in male-dominated fields and having like relationships all over the place.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's not a grand story, but eventually on her wedding day, she says that she will be walked down the aisle with her father, or by her father and her stepmom. And she'll just pretend like it's a nice little perfect story and fairy tale.
Yeah.
As if she hadn't been raped by the same man like
15
years ago.
Damn.
Yeah, but I generally don't like reading stories about rape. And I think I've said this before, but I don't like reading stories about rapes, sexual assault, other sad stories. Yeah.
Karibuni
Grief is
Police.
fine.
Sad stories, you loving it. What happened?
Nothing happened. I just
To
like
think that this is the real life of women.
someone. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I don't think I want to talk about any other story. I think 3 is enough.
3 is enough.
Yeah, 3 is enough.
Yeah.
I'll go and read the book.
Yeah.
Any overall remarks about the story and like?
I'll give it a chance when I'm ready for sober stories,
Yeah.
for the remaining stories. I really pray and hope that one day Joanne will write happy, mellow stories. No pressure.
Pressure felt.
Yeah, but clearly she's successful in her writing.
In her craft.
In her craft, she's sold so many books. Confessions. I don't think if you're a reader, you've not read any
Or
of,
heard at
or
least.
heard about any of her books. I like how she's consistent in releasing books because I think every year anatoa so with kitabu.
Yeah, she has like 7 books.
Hey,
She
Joan,
says it here.
that consistency, tap it in me. Because
Get into it.
yeah,
Some people can't relate to their blog.
shut up.
No blow, no blow.
Yeah, and
That's all.
that's all.
Okay. So I think mine is, as I said, it's a very predictable read. I feel like it's an easily forgettable book. I can easily forget that I read the book.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. But it doesn't mean that I'll forget it. Joan, I'll remember the book forever. But I like reading a book where I'm able to remember the storylines here and there.
Do you remember any book, any story?
I don't think I
Confessions of
do.
Nairobi Men.
I don't think I do. Actually, maybe it's just me. Maybe I just don't. Like, for example, movies, I generally don't remember storylines.
Same. That's why I
Yeah.
don't really watch movies sana like that or series.
But you watch them to remember. You watch them for that 1 hour of entertainment.
But let me tell you something. There's some movies or series if you watch, I remember up to date even the conversation and how it made me feel.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like these days they don't make movies
Such.
and series like that.
Mhm.
Like for example, the Being Mary Jane, The Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder, Grey's Anatomy. Like what happened to making?
Did you like Blacklist?
I didn't watch it. I haven't watched it. Yeah, what happened to those kind of
Narratives.
series where the conversation to inaku capture?
Mhm.
Like weirdly, there's some things I remember and conversation. I'm like, damn. I remember the situation, the scenarios. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, so that's all I have to say. Another thing that I just saw in my notes that I wanted to highlight is that I remember when we were reading
Lead by example.
when we were reading Sinners
Yeah.
by Sarah Halua. One of the, I don't know kama ilikuwa on the podcast ama ilikuwa in our personal conversations.
Yeah.
But one of the things that you had said was you like a book that you find a new word here
Yeah. True.
that teaches you something.
Mm.
So I read this book. I read basically the whole book, and I found 2 words that I did not know. But I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But now that I know how you look at stories that way, I'm like subconsciously also looking for words
Yeah.
that I don't know.
Yeah.
So Stacy, is 2 words enough for 130 pages? No.
Maybe that's just me.
Yeah, maybe it's just you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, those are all the comments I have about the book. I would still recommend someone, if you want to give the book a chance,
Sure.
please do. You can find the book at Textbook Center.
Yeah.
Or even you can DM the author at Joan Thatiah on Instagram, and she'll easily send you the book. I've actually bought books from her directly.
Oh, really?
Kitambo though. And I just DM'd her and she responded.
Mm.
Anyway, that's all. Can we end it here?
Yeah, sure. So thank you so much for listening to us. At this point, if you have, please like, share, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and also please follow us on Spotify. Please rate us also because it will help the algorithm of our podcast. Thank you so much and bye.
Goodbye.
Tumemaliza mturi.
Ujangoje ukapose after goodbye.